everyone, we're here with Behind the Nail Pros for our May cover. Lorena Marquez came down from Santa Cruz, which is in Central California, to do the cover nails for us. Welcome.
Hi Stephanie, thanks for having me.
Our concept for this cover was sort of a global chic, and this style is really prominent in a lot of fashion magazines right now for the spring. So we presented this idea to Lorena, and how did you come up with the concept for the nails?
When I looked at the pictures that you sent me, there was a lot of beadwork involved, so I thought that we could tie that into maybe some kind of marble effect for the rest of the nails and do kind of an intricate design with the beads, and that's how we came up with it.
So to start, you built out the model's nails.
The first step was to create actually a very thin base of the nail by pulling out the free edge with clear acrylic, and then I followed that with double dipping my brush into the monomer and then into some pigment, which I used green first, and then going into my clear powder and applying that at the same time.
You brought all these really cool pigments, which I don't think a lot of techs are used to working with. Tell us a little bit about the pigments, what they do, how to work with them on nails.
Well, what I was thinking was to show nail techs around the globe something new, was to actually take raw pigment and incorporate that into our acrylic that we use on an everyday basis and kind of go with from there. And what I did was I kind of used a marble effect to mute the colors together.
Is there anything that you need to be careful with when using pigment because there's so much color and it's so concentrated?
Yes, because it's so concentrated, it's very, very fine. It's almost like it'll just kind of float around in the air, so you have to be very careful when you pick it up with your product. You want to actually use your acrylic a little more wet than normal so it'll really absorb the pigment into the powder liquid.
So you started with the green pigment and then you went over it and added a gold texture to it. How did you do that?
What I did first was after I created that clear base, then I went in and did the entire nail from cuticle area to free edge with the green and using the clear to pick it up with. And after that set for a little while, you want to make sure that it dries up a little bit before you add the next color, or you won't get the effect that I came up with. And what I did then was I picked up just a tiny bit of clear powder and liquid, and picked up the gold and just muted it on very softly and used kind of the tip of my brush to press it into the green.
You mentioned before that the pigment takes a little bit longer to dry than just regular acrylic. Do you have to wait longer before you start filing the nails?
Yes, that's actually a really good question. Because it's raw pigment and it does give you a lot more time to work with it and it sets up so much slower. A good idea, and it's actually nice because you can actually build your C-curves for a lot longer to create your molding. What I did was I did like 2 or 3 nails and then applied the clear cap over it, so the nail was still soft enough to mold after 2 or 3 or even 4 nails.
2 of the nails you encrusted with beads, but before you did that, you filed and buffed all the nails to a high shine, is that correct?
After the nails were completed, what I did was I filed, buffed them, and actually top coated them with a UV top coat. And the reason I chose to do that rather than a high shine with a buffer, because of the UV in the top coat that I chose to use, it actually makes your colors pop more and makes everything a little brighter.
Which worked really well because there were so many colors in this cover between the dress and the nails, and it was great to have them all pop.
Right. A lot of times what I've noticed in doing other covers in the past is sometimes you get too much of a shine on the nails and it doesn't work well with your lighting. But this time I felt that the colors really needed to pop off of the background and the colors in the outfit, so that's why we chose to use that.
You brought a bunch of different types of beads with you and then sat down and created patterns so you would have a starting point. How did you decide which beads you were going to use where, and how did you apply them?
When I first practiced some samples, I did everything with the big beads that you actually use for jewelry and noticed that the nails just looked way too bulky and a little too heavy. So what I chose to do was incorporate bullion, which we use as nail techs in the salon a lot, and it worked really well because I was able to put certain sections with the bigger beads and then make the nail not look so big and bulky by adding the bullion around the edges.
So you applied the beads with a little bit of acrylic?
Yes, what I did was I actually dipped my brush into monomer and picked up a little tiny bit of clear acrylic and then individually picked up every bead when I used the larger beads. And when I used the bullion, I was able to pick up a whole bunch of beads, maybe 10 to 20 beads depending on the section I wanted to cover.
Well, I think that this concept turned out way better than I expected. Not that I didn't think it was going to be great, but it just really came together, and I knew that your creativity would really pull this together. So thank you so much for, you know, all of the work you did beforehand and being so prepared and bringing all this stuff with you, because the nails turned out amazing and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be back, and I was a little nervous about not really sure what I was doing, but I'm really happy with the outcome also.
Excellent. Thanks so much.